Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'm just going to jump right in because it is a 30-minute workshop and there's a lot to get to. And as I was planning this workshop, thinking through what do people need to know to come out feeling happier, more connected with themselves, and to feel the self-compassion, self-love. I realized that there's way more than what I can do in this workshop. So what we are doing is little dabbles of different areas, and I'll talk about the overview of what each week will look like and what kind of tools I'm hoping you all will be able to take with you by the end of each one. But I'm going to start with who I am. I'm Lindsay Lowrance. I dabble in a couple different things. I've got a mental health background, and I am an intuition coach. This is a newer title for me. What that means is that I am helping people get out of their messages from all the things that they've been told and from all the things that society tells them or the pressures around them. I'm helping them get away from that and tune away that noise so that they can tune into themselves and really reflect deeply on what it is that they need and they want and they feel. Tuning into that gut instinct piece. And that is a part of self-compassion. I do want the discussions to come and flow naturally. And so if at any point when I'm talking, if you all have something that you want to add to it or ask questions or share an example, you're welcome to take yourself off mute or to write in the chat box if you're familiar at the bottom, and then we'll come to that. So what is self-compassion? I think a lot of people have an idea of what that means. The way that I see it is that we've kind of been taught most of our lives to protect ourselves, whether that is by trying to be the best, trying to achieve, trying to accomplish, trying to be perfect, or trying to hide, trying not to draw attention. We have these protections that we all have created in our worlds, and it ends up getting in the way of us really being in tune with ourselves and really being kind and patient and accepting with ourselves. And so that is my focus for this workshop, is just to give you all some small doses of tuning into yourself, of being kind to yourself, and finding ways to block out some of those barriers that might be getting in the way, some of the internal messages or even external messages, judgments, whatever it might be, that has you feeling bad about yourself in some way or not showing up fully. And so the reason this is so important is that as I've reflected on all these messages that get in the way, I realize it gets in the way of relationships. It gets in the way of how we connect with other people, of how we show up, and then how we even treat ourselves. And there's so many people out there that put themselves last, that they just kind of become martyrs. There's a lot of us that put our families first or our loved ones first. We do everything for them or for work. And then there's so little to give to ourselves by the end of the day, or sometimes there's not anything left. You kind of use up all of your energy. And so in order to really find times when you are peaceful, when things feel really good in life, and you can connect with that happiness, or you can just be, I feel like it all starts with how you treat yourself and how you see yourself, how you speak to yourself, and being able to prioritize yourself too. And some of those messages, which I'm going to catch for you, some of you might be having this conflict right now of like, put yourself first is selfish. And I'm just going to point out that that's one of the barriers, one of those blocks, if that did come up for anybody. We're going to explore those blocks, those thoughts that get in the way. That's going to be on the third day of the workshop. So we will get into those like thoughts and feelings of not being good enough, not being worth it, needing to be perfect, or needing to work extra hard just to be equal or to be okay. Sacrificing yourself. There's a lot of those different barriers, I think, that we all experience. And we'll dive in a little bit, but we're not doing therapy on this. We're not going to like get to such a raw place that it's really hard to bring it back to the love and the nurturing. So we're just going to kind of see it and notice it without judgment and without shame or criticism. We're just going to bring some awareness to some of the things that are involved in how we care for ourselves and how we show up to love ourselves. And we're going to also explore ways to protect ourselves from that. How do you counteract that when it shows up? How do you nurture yourself or go in and comfort yourself when you made a mistake and you're having a bad day? And this is something I'm going to mention too, like no matter where you are on your self-love journey, like some people have done a lot of work on this and some people have not even thought about it. Wherever you are on this journey, it takes practice and it takes doing the work. And so there's no like magic fix of, woo, well, I did that workshop, so now I love myself and I'm good to go. Because it's always a recurring way of taking care of yourself and just reflecting and going back to center. So, any questions with that so far of what it is and why it's important? Anything come to mind of anyone that wants to share? No. All right. So here's what I expect for the overview of here's how we're going to do this. Like I said, there's a lot of pieces to it and it's not linear and it's not simple. So I think some of the things that we need to look at when we're talking about loving ourselves more unconditionally and being kind to ourselves, we have to start with like just owning who we are, knowing ourselves on a deeper level, and being able to always come back to center, always knowing the truth about you, no matter what the thoughts are, no matter what other people might say or wonder. Starting to go inward to reflect at a deeper level of here's what I know about myself, so that you can always come back to that when the spiral starts happening, which we all have happen. I mean, we all make mistakes. We all have life changes and stressors. And that's usually when these spirals happen, where it's harder to really just love yourself no matter what, where things come into question. So for today, we are going to dive in on getting to know yourself and your truth, and doing that from a non-judgmental place. And we'll use some different tools like meditation and grounding and just tuning in to your own body, being able to reflect inwardly. And day 2, next week, we are going to change the language of how you talk to yourself, of befriending yourself, trying to rewire. You know, if you end up being your own worst critic, really beating yourself up, being harsh on yourself for getting something wrong or not being able to do enough, being able to switch gears to look at it from a different perspective so that you can start to challenge it yourself and come in being a friendly, patient, compassionate person to yourself, which you probably do a lot of to other people in your life. And then day 3, like I mentioned, we're going to explore some of those blocks and barriers, some of the hard language that has just been ingrained in us, whether that is criticizing yourself about getting things wrong, whether that is not wanting to focus on yourself, always wanting to focus on someone else, or feeling like maybe you don't deserve it, questioning your value, things like that. We're going to go there, but we're going to do it from a place where we're going to use tools to overcome and to protect and set up some barriers so that when that happens, you know what to do to come out of that. And then on the 4th day, we're going to explore how to nurture the parts of yourself, how to be there for those parts that show up in a way that are hurting or needing something during times of stress. And each time we're going to have some discussion. I welcome questions, I welcome examples, and we're going to leave each session with a new tool and a new practice. And it takes doing the work, and it takes being patient with yourself. So that's my plan for us, but I'm flexible. So whatever you all bring, let's do it. Any questions about any of that? It's kind of a lot, I feel like. So I've been reflecting deeply on it. I tried to summarize it and organize it, but it still feels kind of messy, just because there's so many pieces to it. So I want to make sure that it's making sense so far for all of you. Thumbs up, head nods, all good. Okay, perfect. So I will bring up some examples too. And before, oh, did someone have something to say? No? Okay. All right, so before I get into a little piece about meditation and just tuning into yourself and finding what the good is about you that you know and you love and you can cherish, I'm going to bring up an example of why self-compassion is so important and why no matter where you are on your journey, we all need it. We all need to practice it. So today, of all days, which is just like the funniest coincidence in the universe, I was parking my car getting into my office today and hit a pole. And I never get in these kind of like fender bender type accidents. I'm a really good driver and I'm very careful. But today of all days, I made this big mistake, and it was my husband's truck, and it's a new truck. And so we've got this lovely orange mark and scratches. I don't even know the extent of the damage. I only looked as much as I could in the moment and just like burst into tears. And I started going into some old cycles of just feeling terrible, feeling some shame, some embarrassment for myself, of like beating myself up. Why did I do that? Why wasn't I more careful? Why, questioning myself and getting into my head ever so briefly. And then almost immediately I was like, today is the day of self-compassion. And what is it that I'm going to be teaching that can show up in this incident of me making this mistake and feeling terrible? And so I took my own advice and sat there and reflected and journaled. Instead of beating myself up about being wrong, making this mistake, what does it say about me? Instead of doing all the old ways of thinking, I went through why it was okay. Why is it okay to make a mistake? Why is it okay that this was my husband's truck and I can believe that it will be all right, even if he gets upset about it, even if he's going to be mad, or even if it's inconvenient to get it fixed or to have to pay money for it, or, you know, all these things. Instead of beating myself up, shaming myself, criticizing, I was able to be kind and look at it from like a friend's perspective. What would my best friend say? What would anybody who knows me say about this? And recognize, you know, mistakes happen and we're all human. We can't be perfect and it's okay. And that sometimes these are opportunities for us to practice and to grow and to get even better at loving ourselves, even when like the scary, ugly thing shows up that we don't want to see, we don't want to do. So that, I felt like that's something I should share here just to kind of connect with you all. I'm sure you have moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to share that. I don't want anyone to know that I did this. And hopefully you're able to overcome those. If you haven't so far, that is my hope for this workshop, is that you'll be able to come out knowing how you can overcome these. And even if you spiral into that like ugly, dark place for a little bit, know that when you start using these tools and you start looking at it with some compassion, that it will shorten your amount of time that you are in that harder place. And so for me, in my journey, let's say years ago, if I had done this, I could have been hard on myself for days, or any time that it was brought up, weeks on end. If someone thought about it or mentioned it, I could have been hard on myself all over again. And because I've been practicing different ways of being kind to myself and loving myself unconditionally, it's okay if I have 5 or 10 minutes where I've got to cry about it and feel bad and throw myself a pity party. And then I can come out of it and be like, okay, you know what? I'll even share this on a recorded video. So I don't know if anyone here can relate to any of that, but I hope so. Has anybody here done any kind of meditation or recentering, like tuning into your body, your breath in any way? A couple of nods and some nope. All right. So a little mixed bag here. The thing with it that is very tied into self-compassion is that when you try something new, especially meditation, naturally your mind is going to want to do anything but, because it's not used to it. And naturally, for a lot of you, you might feel some judgments about doing it wrong or not knowing how to do it. You might get frustrated. This is the same thing with self-compassion. And so meditation is a practice of just redirecting, of not judging anything in the process, and just being able to pull it back over and over to a focus point and keep a calm, level head through all of it. So there's more to say on meditation, of course, but the point is that I'm going to guide you through a way to tune into the best side of yourself and to really calm any emotions, any judgments that you have going on. And during this internal process that you have, if you experience any of that negative, like dark side voice come up, I don't want you to beat yourself up about it. Don't think that you shouldn't ever have this or that it's not supposed to be here. Just acknowledge it calmly and gently, and then come right back and tune back into yourself. So we don't want to stay in a whirlwind of thoughts, of all the I should, I couldn't, whatever. Those thoughts are just thoughts, and they come and they go when we don't hold on to them and focus on them. And so the whole time you'll just keep redirecting yourself back into your body, your breath, and I'll guide you into some thinking about yourself. All right. So to know yourself, you have to take time to reflect inward. And that's what we're going to do today. If you have meditated and you feel comfortable, you can either turn off your screen if you like, turn off your video, that is, or you can just close your eyes. And just start by focusing on your breath. You don't have to change it. You don't have to slow it. Just notice the flow. Notice the rise of your chest, your shoulders. Notice if the flow of your breath reaches down to your stomach or if it stays in your chest. Notice the temperature as you breathe in and how it changes as you breathe out. And check in with your body. Tune in to what your muscles are experiencing and check in with your shoulders, your hips, your legs. Just kind of scan through and notice whatever it is that you're experiencing in this moment. Remind yourself that there is no right or wrong. It is just your experience in this moment. And that's all you need to know. Give your body some attention, some awareness. Tune into your emotions and your thoughts. If you've got thoughts running all around that are not focused right now on your body, your breath, or being here, then just bring it back. Refocus on your breath. Tune into your body again. Wonder internally about yourself with a curious mind. Explore what you know to be good about yourself. What is true about you? You may find a long list, or you might be struggling with this. And either way, it's okay. Think of people that are close to you and ask yourself what they see in you. What do they love about you? What makes you special? Allow yourself to open your heart and your mind to receive the things that people love about you, the things that make you different, the things that make you worth it. Allow it to fill your body with energy, with hope, with love. Know that you are good. You have value. You are worth knowing. You are worth loving. Notice the energy in your body, any sensations you might have from this. If you're able to accept it and welcome it, you might feel something moving, something flowing, vibrating, tingling. You might feel it somehow. And from this, reflect on a couple of things that you would like to remind yourself that matter about you. You might have a long list or a short one, but just give yourself a bullet point or two. What are a couple of things you would like to always come back to and remember? Yeah, this is who I am. This is good about me. All right. At your own pace, whenever you are ready, you are welcome to slowly and gently open your eyes, coming back to this space, recentering. Okay, any questions, thoughts, or insights that we should wrap up with? Is that challenging for any of you? Maybe for some.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And meditation in general is, and self-love can be. With meditation, I find it easier to start small. And for some people, it's nice to have a guide to focus on so that you keep coming back to the thoughts and ideas that I'm mentioning to you. But for other people, you just need the open space to just reflect on your own. And so it's all a practice. You get to play with it and figure out what works for you. Any other thoughts, or shall we wrap up for today? Let's see, checking in. We've got a question. Oh, thanks for the lovely input. Thanks, Gabby. All right. Well, I appreciate you all showing up and participating. Next week, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper. It's going to build on each week. And hopefully by the end of the 4 weeks, it will get a little bit easier for you to tune into yourself and give yourself pats on the back and feel good. So thanks again for joining me. And stick around if you do have questions.